Hey, how's it going? This is James P. White from 95.7 Cruise FM, The Locker Room. Welcome to the Jedi Jimmy podcast. This is episode number 51. This is Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 3. Wow. Holy... I don't even know what to say. First, they started with it where they left off on Mandalore, outside the living waters. Why the waters are so deep, because they weren't originally so deep, it was kind of like a pool, was because of all the seismic activity caused by the bombing by the Imperials during the Night of 1,000 Tears. Mando did not see the mythosaur, so one of my previous predictions might not happen. But after Mando and Bo-Katan, later on in the episode, they actually say, "This is the way," when they're talking. And Grogu, who doesn't speak yet, garbles something that was in the same rhythm as "This is the way." That's going to be his first words. "This is the way." So cool. Now, they are being attacked by Imperial TIE interceptors. Both Bo-Katan and Mando are exceptional pilots. Bo-Katan drops Mando off near his A1 starfighter, and they kill all these interceptors, but shortly thereafter, the bombers actually destroy the Family Crease castle. That's where Bo-Katan lived. Now we end there, and they're on their way to get some help. And it jumps to Coruscant. So I don't know if you remember Dr. Pershing, but he was the doctor that was doing all the tests on Grogu. And he is no longer part of the Empire. He was given amnesty by the New Republic. And he was giving a speech for the Republic. And he has now been given the designation of Amnesty Scientist. I think it's 451. But then he goes to Amnesty Housing, and he meets up with Elia Kane. She was actually the communications officer on Moff Gideon's ship. She was the one, like, kind of behind all the plotting and all that kind of stuff. She was given amnesty. But the thing with Dr. Pershing is he believed in what he was doing at the time, which was cloning. So now we understand what he was doing in the Mandalorian series. He was trying to clone parts of Grogu by using his genetic material. Now, cloning in the New Republic is actually prohibited. And anything that was Imperial technology, whether or not it was useful or not, was either going to be destroyed or disposed of. Dr. Pershing was actually trying to restart his research again for the purpose of helping the New Republic. Because if you can clone organs and skin and all that stuff and help maintain people's lives. But he wanted to get it back, and in order to do that, he was definitely going to be breaking some rules. So with the help of Elia Kane, who was as I said, the communications officer with Moff Gideon, she's now security officer at G68. She helps him get on an old Star Destroyer, which was in a shipyard to be destroyed and decommissioned. And so what ends up happening is he ends up gathering up all the equipment he needs to do it secretly to help the Republic. But we find out later that this Elia Kane was actually working against him, setting him up. He was arrested by the New Republic troopers, and he was being sent in for reconditioning again. So what ended up happening is she was still pretending to be his friend and helping him out, but she was getting revenge for the fact that he actually, if you remember, gave Mando the information on how to find them when they had Grogu to start with. So she basically did it so that he could be tortured. Now we jump back to Mando and Bo-Katan. They're actually heading back to the covert, which was at the beginning, at the very first episode, was the planet that had the sandy beach with that alligator-looking creature. And the reason why Mando was going there was he wanted to be redeemed. Because in the previous episode, he did bathe in the living waters underneath the mines of Mandalore. And he brought a sample of the water. And in the covert, one of the Mandalorians actually made reference to Bo-Katan as the Night Owl. But during the Clone Wars, she was actually part of a group of Night Owls. There were secret warriors that used to fight against the Empire. That would have been not the Empire, but the Separatists. They were called Night Owls, and when the group was dissolved, she just went back to being a member of the House Kreese. But she still has the L impression on her helmet. But what ends up happening is the group got totally dissolved, especially after the fact that when Darth Maul took over Mandalore for that time. So, because of the fact that Mando was redeemed because he bathed in the living waters, she also bathed in the living waters and was accepted to the Children of the Watch. And the funny thing about it is, at one point she was part of the member of the Death Watch. It's kind of interesting how that works. So as long as she keeps her helmet on, she can continue to be part of the Children of the Watch. What a great episode. There was a couple of things I thought was going to happen that didn't. Now, some of my previous predictions, I said Mando will tame the mythosaur, with the fact that Mando did not see the mythosaur, because he was asked, "Did you see anything down there?" He said no. I don't think that's going to happen. I still believe from previous predictions, Ahsoka will appear in this season, because there's a lot of hints leading that way to tie into her upcoming series. Bo-Katan and Mando might fight for the Darksaber for leadership of the Mandalorians. That could happen. And another prediction I said previous episodes was the pirates will continue chasing Mando. That's still not a done deal yet. Upcoming predictions I have. With the increase of the Imperials, like the TIE Interceptors and the bombers, because we see all those in this episode, and with the destruction of Bo-Katan's castle, Grand Admiral Thrawn might actually be in charge of the remnants of the Imperials, or there was a hint that Moff Gideon may have escaped prison, so he could be in charge of the growing Imperial factions. And by the end of this season, I guarantee that Grogu will say, "This is the way." Interesting fact, 2 different days of the week in the Star Wars universe that were actually referenced in this episode. One is Bendu Day and Tengu Day. Tong Day. Bendu Day was actually tied into the ancient order of the ancestors of the Jedi, and we actually meet Bendu in the Rebels series. And Tong's Day, actually, Tongs are the ancestors of the Mandalorians. I do need to thank you for joining me for this podcast. I love this, and thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you next week when I talk about the episode 4. And I do need to thank my sponsors. First of all, Crier Media, the Crier Media Network, which I'm part of, which you can find my podcast and many others, including the Fire for Effect podcast, which I need to thank my buddy Army Chris for Fire for Effect Productions, because this is his setup right here I'm standing in front of. I do need to thank him. I look forward to seeing you next week for episode number 3, and may the Force be with you always.